Welcome to today's study. Today we're looking at the Exodus of the children of Israel. God commanded Moses to write down the journeying of the children of Israel. And in Numbers chapter 14 verse 2, and all the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron. And the whole congregation said unto them, Would God that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would God we had died in the wilderness. So here we see the children of Israel complaining and wishing they had died in the wilderness. They are not trusting God. How quick they are to forget all that God has done for them and all that God has brought them through. Numbers chapter 14 verse 22. Because all these men which have seen my glory and my miracles which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice. God said they have tempted him 10 times and are not hearkening, obeying his voice. Verse 23, Surely they shall not see the land which I swear unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoke me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him, and have followed me fully, him will I bring into the land whereunto he went, and his seed shall possess it. Now the Amalekites and the Canaanites dwell in the valley. Tomorrow turn you and get you into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. So God is telling them that those that will not hearken to his voice are not going to get to see the promised land. The only ones that are going to get to see it will be their children that live through the 40 years in the desert. But the rest of them that provoke the Lord shall die in the wilderness. We read in Numbers chapter 14 verse 31, But your little ones, which he said should be prey, them will I bring in, and they shall know the land which he have despised. But as for you, your carcasses, they shall fall in this wilderness, and your children shall wander in the wilderness 40 years, and bear your whoredoms until your carcasses be wasted in the wilderness. We read in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 about the journeying of the children of Israel in the New Testament, of how they tempted the Lord in the wilderness and would not obey him, and that it is a warning for us today that we should not tempt the Lord as they did. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, starting in verse 1. Moreover, brethren, I would not that he should be ignorant how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea. This is on their first journey where they went through the Red Sea. And they were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea. And all did eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink. For they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. But with many of them God was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. So we see that many of them were overthrown. All the older ones that displeased God, that sinned against God, were overthrown in the wilderness. So we see that the Exodus is not just a story, but Moses was commanded to write down their journeying, that we would have it. And we see that the names of these places, how they mean they went through different trials and temptations. The same way we go through trials and temptation and things in this life. But yet, we are not to be like they were. We are to learn from the examples of others and not do the same things, not be murmurers and complainers, but trusting God and obeying Him. Allow these things to be examples to you, that you do not fall in the same things. Verse 12 here reads, Wherefore let him that thinketh he stand take heed lest he fall. So we need to take heed lest we fall, like the children of Israel did in the wilderness. But we need to receive the promised land as the younger generation do in this Exodus. Now we're going to look at that in our next studies. So until then, friends, you be blessed in Jesus' name, and we'll pick up with Journey 3 in our next study. God bless.